The difference between a Google Ads campaign that loses money and one that consistently brings in new customers often comes down to just a few critical setup decisions. Miss these and you'll join the 80% of businesses that quit Google Ads within the first 6 months. But get them right and you'll have a predictable lead generation machine. So in this video, I'm going to take you through a step-by-step tutorial on how to set up a search campaign for your local business. But before we get started on creating a campaign, you'll want to start with keyword research. Now, I'm not going to cover keyword research in depth in this video because I've already done a complete walkthrough on that. And honestly, it is such an important foundation that it deserves its own dedicated video. So I'll put the link to that one in the description. So make sure you check that one out if you're just building your first campaign. But basically, you need to choose the keywords that you want to bid on before you do anything else, because everything we're about to cover depends on having those keywords ready to go. You'll also want to have an idea of the ad group themes that you want to have, which is basically the different services that you will be offering. The other thing that I want to touch on at this point when you're trying to come up with your ad group themes is your budget. So if you have a limited budget and you offer a lot of different services, you may only want to pick your primary one, maybe 2 services to start with on Google Ads. And the reason being, you don't want to spread your budget too thin across too many ad groups all at the same time, because then none of them will end up performing. So let's jump into a screen share and start with a step-by-step tutorial on how to set up your first search campaign. So the first thing that you'll need to do before even starting to set up a campaign is you need to set up conversion tracking. It seems a little backwards, I know, but there are 3 main conversions that you will want to track if you are a local service-based business. So under goals, under conversions, and then summary. So the 3 main conversions that you will want to track are phone calls directly from the ad, which means that somebody is just clicking on the phone number in the ad and they're not interacting with your website, so they are calling directly from the ad. The second one that you will want to set up is phone calls from the website. So that means that somebody clicks on the ad, they end up on the landing page. This is the landing page of one of my clients, and then they click on the number here to then call you. So we want to track that as a conversion. And the third one is whether you have a contact form or a third-party booking system, you want to also track that. So this client here, we have a booking form here. So we want to track every time somebody fills this out and requests an appointment. One mistake that I see a lot of people making is that they will put the conversion tracking right here on this page. So what ends up happening is that when this page here loads, that counts as a conversion. But not everybody who ends up on your landing page or your website is going to actually convert and contact you. So instead, you want the conversion code that Google supplies you to be on a thank you page. So what we've done here is we have this form fill. When somebody clicks this request an appointment button, it goes to a thank you page. And once that thank you page loads, that is what triggers a conversion to be tracked. So we're not tracking everybody who comes to the website. We are only tracking people who get to the thank you page. And the only way to get to that thank you page is to fill out this form. So I'm not going to go in depth on how to set up your conversion tracking in this video. I'll probably do a different video later on, but it is so different depending on which website platform you're using or which booking system you're using. It changes. So I won't go in depth here. But once you have those conversions set up, then we are ready to start the campaign. So in the Google Ads platform, it will bring you to this homepage over screen here. So you will click on New Campaign. And then it asks you to choose an objective. So if you are a local service-based business and your goal is to get more people to contact you and more people to book appointments, I would choose leads. And so now it asks you which conversion actions you want to be tracking. And this is why you need to set up the conversion tracking before starting to create the campaign. So we are, the booked appointments is our form fill, and then the phone call leads is the phone calls. So I will hit continue. And then it goes on to ask you which campaign type you would like to run. So I have another video that went through all of these campaign types in depth, so I'll drop the link to that in the description if you want to know the differences between each of these campaign types. But 9 times out of 10, the campaign you're going to want to run is a search campaign, especially if you've never run ads before, and especially if your goal is leads. Search campaign is where I recommend everybody to start, no matter what industry you're in. So then it asks you which ways you want to reach your goal. So how can people contact you and which ones are we tracking? So essentially it's going to be website visits and phone calls. So I will put the website URL in there, and they are in Canada. And so then I will put the phone number in here as well, and hit continue. So then it asks you to name the campaign. Name it however you see fit. I like to leave it as leads search. It's going to tell me to do 3, because then at a quick glance that I can see, it is a search ad that is targeting leads. Okay, so next it is asking us to set up a bidding strategy, and this can get confusing. There's a lot of different information out there about which bidding strategy you should be starting with, and a lot of different people have different opinions on it. In my experience, what I like to do and has worked well for me is I will start off with a maximize clicks conversion. The reason I like to do that is because when I'm starting to run a campaign, especially in a new account, it has no data. And so my goal in the early days is for the account to get as much data as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible. So I'm going after clicks, even though my end goal is conversions. I'm going after clicks to get that data. People will still convert on a maximize clicks bidding strategy. You will still see conversions coming through. And then once I do see a good amount of conversions coming through, then I can go in and change this over to a maximize conversion strategy. You can also set a max cost per click, which essentially means, let's say I say $10 there, that means that any click that I go after will not cost me more than $10. I wouldn't recommend starting the campaign with a maximize cost per click limit yet, and especially if the account is new. And the reason being is because Google doesn't have data on what your cost per click in your area is going to be for what you're bidding on. And so in the early days, when it's trying to gather that data, that cost per click can fluctuate quite a bit. And by putting a limit on it, you can limit the amount of clicks that you end up getting. So same with how you can change the bidding strategy going down the road. You can also add in a bid limit down the road as well once you get some data into the account. And then you can hit next. Okay, next up we have campaign settings, and this is where I see a lot of mistakes being made, settings being applied that can really eat through your budget. So the first thing, and this is really important, you do not want the Google Search Partners or the Google Display Network turned on. So I turn those off. Google Search Partners and the Display Network are essentially other sites. The search partners are other sites that Google owns, like Gmail and YouTube. The Display Network is a network of third-party websites that Google doesn't own but can put your ads on. And I don't like to have these turned on because I want to be highly targeted with this search campaign. I want to target high intent searches. I want people who are more likely to convert, since our goal is to get as many leads as possible. And for local businesses, I like to prioritize lead quality over lead volume. And what I have found is that when you turn these on, it can make your vanity metrics look really good. So it shows that you're getting a lot of impressions and some clicks, but then the quality of that traffic tends to be lower. And I would prioritize lead quality over lead volume. The other reason is because the display network is all third parties, you can't really see much information about that traffic. So you're very limited on what you can do for optimizations within the account once it is running. And again, since I want to have as much control as possible over these search ads, I'm going to turn these both off. Next is location targeting. So if you do serve a full country or province, you can enter that here. If you are a local service-based business, then click enter another location, and then you can go into advanced search. And you can do a radius around your brick and mortar store if you like, or you can do your whole town. I'm just going to do the whole town of Victoria for now. And then hit save. And then one setting that Google kind of hides on you is this location option. So click that, and you want to choose presence and not presence or interest. And the reason being is that presence means that Google will show your ad to people in or regularly in your included location. So if they travel into your city for work or anything, they are included. Whereas presence or interest shows it to people who live there, people who travel there frequently, or people who have shown interest in your location. So for instance, a city like Victoria, it's a big tourist destination, so a lot of people from outside of British Columbia might be searching for things in Victoria, probably not a dentist. So you don't want to be targeting the people outside of your city. So you want it on presence. The other thing I'll mention about location targeting is be realistic with your targeting. Going broader or setting a bigger radius doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get more conversions, especially if people aren't willing to drive that far to get to you. Now, sure, there are some instances where people have to drive further, like if you're in a really spread out rural area, or if you're in a niche that isn't very common, like you're a surgeon, people will drive for that. But if not, then tighter is typically better. And let me give you an example of one of these. So I put in dentist near me, and for reference, I'm in the Santa Cruz area. And so as I scroll through, I can see that this ad popped up for me, and they are in Dublin, California. Dublin, California is about an hour and a half away from me, and I'm in Santa Cruz, which is a highly populated area. There's a ton of dentists, and to get to Dublin, I have to drive through San Jose, which is really highly populated, lots of dentists, or the Bay Area, which again, very highly populated. So the chances of me seeing this ad, because I didn't know at a first glance that it was Dublin, California, chances are I would click on it. So then you're paying for that click. But as soon as I find that they're in Dublin, chances of me driving an hour and a half and having to pass probably at minimum another 20 dentists to get to these guys is very slim to none. Generally, with your location targeting, if you are a local service-based business, just a tighter radius generally is better. And then as we scroll down, English is good. You can input audience segments in here if you like. I would leave it as observation. It gives you some cool data. It's not going to affect the way your ads run too much. It will give you a little bit more data to look at once they have been running. And then once that's done, click on more settings. You can add in an ad schedule if you like. So if your business closes at a certain time and you don't answer your phones after that time, or don't have a way to follow up with leads that come in after you're closed, then you may want to create an ad schedule so that the ads aren't shown when you're closed. Because the longer that you tend to follow up with the lead, the less likely they are to book with you. Chances are, if they called you, you didn't answer, they'll move on to the next person on the list. Sometimes there is another setting in here called broad match keywords. I'm not seeing it right now. Google may have changed the setup, but sometimes there is the broad match keyword in here. You want to make sure that that is off so that you can target other match types and not just broad. And then you can click next. I'm going to leave this off right now. This is a new thing that Google has brought out, but I'm going to leave it off and click next. And then here is Google's AI can help you create keywords and your assets, headlines, descriptions. I'm going to skip this because I would prefer full control over what keywords we are bidding on and what our ads say. So I'm going to hit skip on that. And then here is where we will start to set up our first ad group. So it has our website in here from when we started the campaign, and it has suggested some keywords based on that. We have also already done our keyword research, so I'm going to use my own keywords of dentist near me, dentist Victoria, BC. So you can just copy and paste your keywords into here. I'm just going to start with those two for now. Ideally, you will have about 15 to 20 keywords in this ad group. I'm just going to start with 2 for sake of time. By putting the quotations around the keywords, you are changing that to a phrase match. So if there are no quotations around it, then that will be broad match, which is the loosest matching that Google has for keyword matching. If you put brackets around it, then that is going to be phrase match, which is kind of the middle ground. This is normally where I will start, but then I keep a close eye on everything. If they're starting to get out of control with the search terms, then I upgrade it to exact. You may want to start with exact as well, depending on your niche and your keywords that you're going on. If you do want to do exact, then you're going to do the square bracket around that, and that will make it an exact match. And then as you scroll down, you can now start to build out your ad. So our final URL is already in there from where we started to set it up. You can choose a display path. So I will put that here, Dentist Victoria. And you'll see that in the ad preview here, this is how it shows up. Victoria BC Dental, which is our URL, /dentist/Victoria. You don't have to put this in there if you don't want to. You can also leave it blank. And then you want to add your phone number. So we have already set up our conversion tracking. So I'm just going to add in the phone number, hit apply. And then you can start building out your headlines. So you at least need 3 headlines. And what Google will do is it will take all the headlines and descriptions that you give it, and it will mix and match as the ad starts to run and try to find the combination that brings the most clicks and conversions to the ad for you. Basically, it's trying to find that winning combo. So ideally, you want to have a mixture of your keywords, Dentist Victoria BC, dentist, family dentist in Victoria, BC. And you also want to mix it with a call to action, so book your appointment today, or any headings that set you apart from your competitors. For instance, family owned and operated. Over 50 years of experience. So those are all trust building phrases that set the clinic away from their competitors. If you are stuck and you're not sure which other ones to use, up here at the top, you can go into view ideas for ad headlines. New patients are always welcome. If I like that one, we're accepting new patients. That's good. And then it gives you some call to action phrases that you may want to go in or add in there. Exceptional customer service, it would be a good one. So you can just basically build all of that out. And it will add. You can add up to 15 headlines and descriptions. With your headlines, you also want everything to be capitalized. So I would even capitalize that one. You want all the words to be capitalized. That is best practices just because it catches people's attention. So then if we scroll up here, we can see what it would look like. So it has taken 2 of them and put them in there. Now that one we just saw showed book your appointment today and over 50 years of experience. It showed nothing about being a dentist. So maybe I want this one, Dentist Victoria BC, to always show up in that first spot. So then you can hit pin and you can pin it in position 1, which means that if we scroll up, that Dentist Victoria BC is always going to be in that position 1, and then it will rotate through the other positions with the other headlines that we have given it. As we scroll down, now you can put in descriptions. You need at least 2. I'm just going to use that one for sake of time. And these ones show up underneath the headlines. So the headlines are the big blue things that people click on. It is what catches people's attention. And then underneath there is more information. Who do you serve? Where are you located? What do you do? Are there certain services that you offer? You can put all of that in there. And then as you keep scrolling down, you can add images in, you can add your business name in there as well, although you need to verify your account before you can actually do this. And then you can add site links in. And I would recommend adding your site links in. So then asset library. And so I'm gonna add these 4 in and hit save. And so if we scroll up to see what it looks like, essentially, so basically those site links will show up underneath all of this. So there's the about us, the contact us. Sometimes if you're in the first position, it will list it out one under the other as well, which means that you take up a lot of space on that first page, which is always good. And then call outs, we can add call outs. Basically, these are small type wins that are things that set you apart from other people. So if you're family owned and operated, book online, 50 years of experience, free parking, free Wi-Fi, wheelchair accessible. If you're 24 hours, you can add all of that as well. And then you can open up the more asset types. If you have a promotion, $10 off for new patients or anything like that, you can add that in. You can add in a time frame for it as well. You can add in your prices if they are fixed. Structured snippets you can add in as well. So with these, you can add in the neighborhoods that you work with, or if you have a catalog of your services, you can add that all in as well. You can add a lead form as well. I'm not going to for this one because we have a lead form on the website that I would prefer people to fill out. The lead forms within Google are kind of hard to get out of Google. You would have to come into the platform to export it, or you can set up a Zapier Zap to when a lead form is filled out, that then it puts it into an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. But like I said, generally with the leads, speed is important. So the quicker that you follow up with the leads, the better. So with the form that I have on their homepage, they are getting emailed as soon as that form is filled out so that they can follow up ASAP with them. Okay, then the ad is created. So I will hit next. And then this is where you would pick your budget. So you don't have to go with Google's recommended. Generally, they do overestimate for their recommended budget. Keep in mind, Google's primary goal is to get you to spend money. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to just set a custom budget of $20 a day. Actually, since I don't want this one to run, it's going to be 1 cent. And then we will hit next. So then it brings me to a review page. And so you can just take a quick look. It's going to tell me if there are any limiting factors on the campaign, anything I should be aware about, anything that will prevent the ad from running or performing. So I can come through and make sure everything looks okay. Objective is leads, the goals, booked appointments and phone calls. Bidding is maximize clicks. Our location looks good, so everything looks okay, and then you can go ahead and publish campaign. So now the campaign is published. It will go into learning mode for up to 2 weeks, depending on how much traffic it gets. If you don't start getting impressions right away, it can sometimes take 24, 48, maybe a couple days to see the impressions start to come through. So I wouldn't panic on the first couple of days. If you do start to see impressions come through, then you can come in and start to do your optimization processes as well. The other things that I will quickly show you how to do. So I'm just going to pause this campaign so it doesn't actually run. So you can see under status, it says bid strategy learning, and it will be like that for up to 2 weeks as Google starts to learn who I want to be seeing that ad. In that walkthrough, we built out one ad group. So maybe you want another ad group. So you can click. So from the overview, you click onto campaigns, you click into the campaign that we just created, which will then take you to your ad groups. So this was the first one. So if I want a second ad group, I would just click here, create second ad group, and then I basically go through the keyword and ad setup again. So you can name it here, and then you can copy and paste your keywords for your second ad group, hit save and continue. And then you can go through the process of building out your ad. And then once that's done, you just hit save down at the bottom. And then if you were to click into one of the ad groups, and then on the left-hand side here, click ads, then you'll see the one ad that we set up for that ad group. It is best practices to have a couple ads running at a time. So you may want to set up another ad for this ad group. So if you do want to set up another ad, then you just click the blue button and then you can create your responsive search ad. If you are an emergency service, like an emergency dentist or a tow truck, you can set up a call ad as well. So essentially call ads only show up on mobile phones. They do tend to have a lower cost per click, but I would test that against your normal ads to see which one performs better for your account. I have found that they do work really well for emergency type services. The other thing that I want to point out under here, if you go down to keywords, so we have our keywords that we're bidding on. If you come over to negative keywords, then you can build out your negative keyword list of words that you don't want the ad to show for. For example, free, DIY, mobile, at home, anything similar to that, or your competitors' names, Dr. Smith, I don't know. Any of your competitors' names that you don't want your ad to show for, and then you can start building those out. And then you can hit save. And then that is your first campaign up and running. Like I said, it can take a couple hours for it to first be approved to start running. And then once it does start running, it will be in bid strategy learning for potentially up to 2 weeks. And it might take a couple of days before you start to see impressions trickle in. So if you don't start to see impressions right away, I wouldn't freak out. If at the 1.5 week mark, you don't see impressions, then at that point, I would look at starting to change some things. Now you are ready to launch your first Google Ads campaign. But here's the thing, if you haven't done your keyword research yet, you're putting the cart before the horse. Everything we just covered, your ad groups, your targeting, your ad copy, it all depends on having the right keywords. Without proper keyword research, you could set up the most beautiful campaign in the world, but you'll be bidding on the wrong terms, missing out on high converting searches, and potentially wasting your budget on keywords that don't actually drive business. So if you're serious about making your Google Ads investment pay off, the very first thing you need to do is comprehensive keyword research. And I've created a complete step-by-step walkthrough that shows you exactly how to find the keywords that will drive real business results for your business. It's your essential first step before implementing anything from today's video. So check it out right here, and I'll see you there.